What's up, everybody? Pastor Matt here. Thanks for checking into my YouTube channel. I want to talk really quickly in this short video about a problem that plagues me as an incessant Bible note taker. Of course, I'm a wide marginer, which is one of those crazy people who just can't stop taking notes in the margins of one's Bible. But there are several Bibles out there that seem to really rankle my OCD tendencies, and that would be those Bibles in which they are marketed as wide margin editions, and yet you're going to notice a problem right here that the inner margins are not as wide as the outer margins. Now, given that this Bible has two columns, that's really perplexing to me, because I think that surely there's going to be as interesting material to take notes on in the inner gutter margins as there is on the outer wider margins. And so I can't quite figure out exactly what to do with a Bible like this. This is the large print wide margin that Crossway makes. It would be an awesome preaching Bible. It really would be an incredible preaching Bible if it didn't have this narrower inner gutter margin that I can't write on. Okay, so I've been practicing a few possibilities. And so for those of you out there that may have a Bible with uneven margins, let me show you the fruits of my labor, so to speak. So I have right here another Bible that suffers from the same problem. This would be another great preaching Bible. This is the verse by verse double column that Crossway makes. And it too, if you notice, has much narrower gutter margins than it does outer margin. The outer margin is sufficient, the gutter margin is not. I can't even really write in this. So here's what I tried. I tried several different ways to do some workarounds. So this first way right here is not going to be a surprise to many of you that have followed my channel, because basically what I'm doing here is I'm simply using my series of Bible symbols. I'm not even writing any words at all. So if you notice real quickly here, I've got my symbol for the church. This is my little tulip garden for the Reformed doctrines of grace, because this is Ephesians chapter 1 after all. I've got a little blood drop for the blood of Christ. I've got my sovereignty symbol. Here's my symbol for the Trinity. And so one workaround is to not even write in my margins, just to use my series of symbols and possibly my references to my miscellaneous journal. So that's one thing I could do. But I do find that I certainly need to say things from time to time that can't be conveyed with my symbol system. So here's my second attempt over here. This represents an attempt to deal with the fact that I can't write in the inner margin by moving the notes that would be in this inner column to the top and the bottom, respectively. So over here, this is my left margin right here, and I went ahead and I took my notes right here, but this is Romans, right? So there's going to be a ton of notes in the book of Romans. And obviously, what am I going to write about this verse over here? There's no place to move it over here. So what I did is I designated this column to the nice wide margin, and this column right here I split into top and bottom. So that's one workaround. I don't think it's the best. For some reason, it still kind of grinds on my nerves a little bit to do that. So I tried another couple of ways. Let's look at this one. This would probably be my most common way and my most natural tendency, but it really doesn't work for the reasons you'll see. Basically, I just tried to cramp in all of my notes on one margin. And you can see here I even tried to make one little note in the gutter margin, but I can't even get a full word. In fact, I couldn't even really get a biblical reference. So this margin to me is just unworkable. So what I tried to do is do both columns of notes in the wide margin, and that led to problems immediately, because this verse, I moved the note over here, but this verse also has a note right here. So now I don't have anywhere to write anything about verse 19. And the same problem happened down here on the page, where I had notes corresponding to its space on the page, but then I get verses that just get squeezed out and there's no space. So for me, this is definitely not an acceptable workaround. Here's another one. This one is a little bit more creative, and some of you who have a creative mind, you might enjoy this. What I did this time is try to do some color coding systems. So I used about 6 different colors of pen on this particular page, and you can see on the margin, my dedicated margin for note-taking, I tried to make sure that the note corresponds in color to the verse. And so one just example here, this first notes on Joel 1:1 I put in green, And then I don't know if you can see it, but well, there is no verse number 1 here. It just goes to chapter 1. But I boxed that in green, and so this corresponds to this, and so on and so forth. That's not bad. And for some of you who are more creative minds, you might really enjoy doing something like this. I think a Bible that really got worked over in this way would end up looking kind of pretty after a while, and it might be really attractive to the eye. I think the downside is you'd have to have all your pens available every single time, and I don't always have my pens available. A lot of times I just have one or whatever's in my bag. And then the final way, and this is probably the most utilitarian way of all, definitely not the most beautiful, is to simply turn your Bible to the side and begin taking your notes along this way in the margin. And while that's not necessarily attractive to the eye, I did find that I could put in way more words in this manner. The total number of note words on this page is probably greater than many of the other pages combined. There's just something about writing this way, lengthwise along the edge of the page, that allows you to write a lot more. So I think if I was going for content, the most amount of content, I'd probably end up doing something like this. Well, there you go. There's a bunch of options for you. I would love to hear what you do with uneven margins. So please feel free to comment in the comment section below. As always, I love you lots. Thank you so much for checking into this YouTube channel, and I will talk to you later.